I used to think that I was somehow being punished by the universe, that terrible things kept happening to me, and that I was somehow cursed. Until I realized that I was simply repeating patterns and cycles in my brain that were dictating how my reality was turning out. Now, in many traditions, they call this karma or a tikkun if you believe, like I do, in the Kabbalah and the Kabbalists and the sages. Or if we look at it in psychology, this could be trauma responses. Whatever language you prefer, the answer remains the same. Whatever you haven't healed from, whatever you haven't learnt from, will keep repeating. For me, this showed up in business, relationships, family dynamics, friendships, health. Health is a big one. Because I wasn't seeing the pattern. And unless you become aware of the pattern and you stop blaming outside sources outside of yourself, you can't create a different outcome. And this is where the Hermetic Principle of Correspondence, or as many people like to call it, as above, so below, as within, so without, comes from. Your inner reality creates your outer reality. So, how do we change it? It's a good question. And it's not an easy question because it will depend on your circumstance. But what I can tell you is that you cannot expect a different result if you keep thinking, doing, being the same person on the inside. So this may play out, and it has done for me, in relationships where I meet someone and they end up being very toxic for me. And instead, I would blame that person and then move on to the next person a year later or whatever, and they would end up being the exact same like the exact same lesson was there, and I wasn't recognizing this pattern. And once I became aware of it, it was just like my brain just exploded, and I was like, oh my god, it was me the whole time. It was because I didn't feel worthy. So I would go after people who would trigger my abandonment wounds, because that's what I had a fear of abandonment. And that stemmed from childhood. For you, it could stem from so many things. This is just one example. So what I am saying to you is that once we become aware of these feelings and these deep rooted identity core beliefs, we can then begin to change them. But the first step is to notice the cycle. And that is where correspondence is made up. And that's, again, I talk about the 7 principles as an ecosystem because they are. You need to be aware that you're creating your reality. It just mirrors back to you what you truly believe that you deserve, whether it's money, whether it's love, whether it's health. All of it is just a reflection of what you believe about yourself. Now, another topic that I want to bring up, and I came across this word maybe a year ago, and it's one of my favorite words. Who has favorite words? I do. So it's entropy. Entropy. So entropy is the way that something can go from order to disorder. So you could think of this as, say, a house that has not been lived in, collecting a lot of dust. Perhaps it gets moldy and smelly, and just something that it wasn't in the first place. It becomes chaotic and no one wants to live there anymore. Or you could think of a garden that has not been pruned or gardened for a long time, and it begins to overgrow with weeds, and it's ugly, and the flowers are dead because the weeds are eating their nutrients, and etc. Or another example that I like to give is, think of a child that makes a sandcastle at the beach, and as they leave the beach, the tide comes in, the wind starts to blow, and the beautiful castle starts to disintegrate. Do we blame the wind? Do we blame the ocean? No. It is just the natural order of things. So, how do I see entropy relating so heavily to cycles that we repeat in our life? Well, if we remain the same, our life will inevitably get worse or decay. So, what I want you to do is ask yourself, where in my life do I not feel worthy enough? Where is it coming from? Is it a family trauma thing? Has there been some event that has made me feel this way? Why do I feel that I need another person in my life to feel whole and complete? Because if the answer is to blame someone else, then you haven't broken the cycle. Correspondence asks us to look within, or you will not see the change that you are wanting on the outside. And I have found that once I understood this particular principle, my entire world began to change. I stopped living in a state of fight or flight. I stopped picking people who didn't pick me because I didn't need them. I was whole. I am whole. I used to have a real fear of being seen. Now I'm showing up on social media every day, just about. I'm whole and complete. I don't care what people think of me. As above, so below, so within, so without. Do you see how to break the cycle? And if you don't, please subscribe, because I will make a post in my community about this, and I'd love to answer some of your questions and help some of you, because that's all I want to do here. So we know the universe charges a maintenance fee on just about everything in your life, whether it's your health, your wealth, your mindset, your relationships, your finances. And if we don't become conscious of these beliefs, entropy will come to collect, unfortunately. If we are not consciously creating order, entropy is going to create disorder for us, inevitably. Correspondence relates to this because we need to be aware of not staying in the same place, of moving and acting differently in accordance with the life that we want to bring in, so that we can resonate with it. What changed my life wasn't waiting for the world outside of me to change. What did change my life was changing the patterns that I had created within my life and within my inner world or my mind. Because eventually I realized something. If the outer world is just simply mirroring my inner world, then I would need to change my inner world to change my outer world. Sounds simple enough, right? The success, the love, the reality you desire is often just hiding behind something you're not willing to face about yourself. But once you do, watch how quickly life changes for you. So I ask you, where are you shrinking yourself? Where do you not feel good enough? Where do you think that you need to grasp onto money like it's your last cent that you're ever going to hold? The universe is more malleable than you think, is all I'm saying. So perhaps that is what the Hermetic Principle of Correspondence has been trying to teach us all along, that patterns repeat everywhere. The macro is always going to affect the micro. When we recognize these patterns in our own lives, we gain the ability to change them. And when we change the pattern, we change the outcome.